Ladies and gentlemen, there is a power within you so immense, so untapped, that it can open the gates to unlimited wealth. Not just financial prosperity, but abundance in every area of life. Wealth begins not in the bank account, not in your job, and not in your surroundings. It begins in the mind. And if you train your mind properly, there are no limits to what you can attract. Let us journey through 10 powerful truths that can unlock this inner reservoir of riches. The first step in attracting unlimited wealth is developing a burning desire for a specific goal. This desire must be clear, precise, and deeply rooted within your heart. Most people drift through life with general wishes for a better future, but vague dreams never command the power necessary to shape reality. To activate the full potential of your mind, you must decide exactly what you want down to the smallest detail and hold that vision with unwavering intensity. The difference between wishing and desiring is the difference between hoping for change and demanding it from yourself. When your mind is locked onto a specific purpose, it begins to function like a magnet. Thoughts infused with emotion and clarity send signals to your subconscious and to the world around you. You start to notice opportunities that were always there but previously invisible. Your attention becomes refined, your time becomes focused, and distractions begin to fade. You're no longer pulled in many directions. You're driven by one aim, and everything else becomes secondary. This laser-focused intention begins to influence more than just your internal world. It affects your energy, your behavior, and how others respond to you. People sense conviction. They feel it in your words, see it in your actions, and are drawn to it without always knowing why. As your purpose becomes stronger, the people and resources you need to fulfill it will begin to appear, sometimes in unexpected ways. This is not magic. It's the alignment of your mental and emotional energy with the rhythm of opportunity. Clarity of desire also helps you endure when the path becomes difficult. A vague goal will collapse under pressure, but a definite purpose gives you the strength to persist. You don't waste time doubting or second guessing when you know what you're fighting for. You remain grounded when the storm hits because your vision is more real to you than your current circumstances. You are no longer driven by external validation. You are pulled forward by an inner flame that refuses to die. In the end, the power of definite desire is not just about attracting wealth. It's about becoming the kind of person who commands it. You move with intention. You speak with confidence. You act with discipline. The mind trained to pursue a clearly defined goal becomes a force that bends reality. And when that force is aimed at wealth, backed by emotion, and reinforced with belief, the results are inevitable. Doubt is one of the most silent and destructive forces in the pursuit of wealth. It creeps in subtly, often disguised as caution or realism, but its effect is paralyzing. When you doubt your ability to succeed, you unconsciously sabotage your own actions. You hesitate where you should act. You question where you should move with certainty. This hesitation sends a signal to your subconscious that perhaps you are unworthy or incapable of wealth, and the mind, being obedient, begins to align your reality with that belief. Belief, on the other hand, is a commanding force. It is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is a deep, unwavering conviction that what you seek is not only possible, but destined. This kind of belief creates a different energy within you. You walk differently. You speak with more confidence. You make decisions quickly because you are not operating from fear, but from faith in your inner power. The mind, when fully convinced of its own potential, begins to activate creativity, resilience, and persistence that may have been dormant for years. To train the mind to believe in its worthiness and capacity for wealth, repetition is key. You must feed it thoughts of abundance consistently, regardless of your current circumstances. Affirmations, visualizations, and intentional language reprogram the subconscious over time. The mind does not resist what it hears often enough. Eventually, the belief becomes automatic, and wealth no longer feels like a distant hope, but a natural outcome of who you are becoming. When belief is joined with desire, a new energy is created. This union ignites action, bold, focused, and deliberate. You begin to move without needing external motivation. The challenges no longer deter you, they become stepping stones. Belief fuels persistence, and persistence births results. There is no room for retreat in a mind that knows what it wants and truly believes it can have it. This is where wealth begins to take root, not in chance, but in certainty. The journey to wealth is as much about mindset as it is about action. You can have the perfect plan, the right tools, and even the best mentors. But without belief, none of it will stick. You must train your mind every day to see yourself as someone who is already abundant, not someday. Now, the wealth you attract externally is simply a mirror of the wealth you believe you deserve internally. And when that belief is solid, the world has no choice but to respond. Your thoughts and words are far more powerful than most people realize. They act like commands issued directly to your subconscious mind, which listens without judgment or analysis. Whatever you repeat often enough, whether positive or negative, eventually takes root as truth. If you constantly speak of lack, hardship, or struggle, your subconscious accepts that as your identity and works to keep you aligned with it. But when you deliberately speak words of abundance, prosperity, and success, even before you see evidence of them, you begin to reprogram your inner world to reflect a new reality. Most people unknowingly speak against their own potential. They say things like, "I can't afford that," "I'm always broke," or "nothing good ever happens to me," not realizing they are reinforcing a mindset of limitation. These phrases are not harmless. They are mental blueprints that shape your decisions, your emotions, and eventually your external conditions. To train your mind for wealth, you must become fiercely protective of the language you use. Every word you speak is either opening doors or closing them. Deliberate, empowered speech is a form of mental conditioning. When you say, "Money flows to me easily," or "I am worthy of abundance," even if your current circumstances suggest otherwise, you are planting seeds in the soil of your subconscious. With repetition and emotion, these affirmations begin to take hold. Your mind starts scanning your environment for ways to validate those statements. You begin to notice new opportunities, attract helpful people, and take bolder actions because your inner world has shifted from scarcity to expectation. Consistency is vital. You cannot speak abundance once and expect miracles, just like physical training. A mental training requires discipline and frequency. Set aside time each day to declare prosperity over your life. Write affirmations, say them out loud, feel the truth in them. When fear or doubt arises, confront it with powerful language that reminds your mind who you are and where you're going. You are not lying to yourself. You are speaking the truth of your potential until it becomes your experience. Over time, this habit reshapes your identity. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as a creator of them. You begin to think and act like someone who expects success, and the world begins to respond accordingly. The more you speak abundance, the more you condition your mind to expect it. And a mind that expects wealth finds ways to achieve it. Your words, repeated with faith, are the beginning of everything you desire. Speak what you seek until you see what you said. The ability to visualize your desired wealth with clarity and emotional intensity is one of the most powerful tools you possess. When you close your eyes and vividly see the life you want, the home, the freedom, the opportunities, you begin to shape an image that your subconscious mind cannot ignore. This mental image becomes a blueprint, a silent instruction that your inner world begins working to fulfill. The clearer and more detailed the picture, the stronger the message you send to your mind, and the more inner life and energy it devotes to making that vision real. The visualization is not daydreaming. It is focused mental rehearsal of your ideal future. When you imagine yourself already living in abundance, feeling the emotions, engaging your senses, and walking through those experiences, you are essentially stepping into the future mentally before it arrives physically. This repeated process conditions your brain to expect the outcome. It bridges the gap between belief and reality, Your nervous system begins to behave as though your vision is already true, causing you to act, speak, and think from a place of confidence and certainty. The subconscious does not know the difference between real experience and vividly imagined experience. When you feed it images of wealth and success repeatedly, it adapts your behavior to align with those images. You begin to make decisions based not on fear or limitation, but on possibility. You carry yourself differently, seek out different conversations, and begin to notice doors you once walked past. These subtle shifts accumulate and guide you directly toward your goal, not through force, but through alignment. To make visualization effective, you must practice it daily. Set aside quiet moments where you shut out distractions and immerse yourself fully in the life you are creating. Imagine the colors, the sounds, the textures, the emotions. See yourself achieving, receiving, and enjoying every part of the wealth you desire. Make it so vivid that your current environment fades away, and for a few minutes, you are already there. This practice feeds your belief the remainder of your life, sharpens your focus, and keeps your desire alive when the outer world hasn't yet caught up. Eventually, this consistent inner practice begins to show itself outwardly. Your energy changes. Your decisions become bolder. You attract different outcomes because your inner vision demands them. Wealth always arrives in the imagination first, long before it shows up in your hands. If you can't see it in your mind, you will never hold it in your reality. But if you can train your mind to live in the picture of abundance each day, the world has no choice but to follow. The mind is like a garden, constantly growing whatever is planted in it, whether intentionally or by default. If you are not careful about what you allow into your thoughts, weeds of negativity will take root and choke the seeds of wealth and progress. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, and every piece of information you consume becomes a part of the mental soil. That's why guarding your mind is not a casual task. It is a full-time responsibility for anyone serious about attracting abundance. One of the most dangerous threats to your mental environment is constant exposure to negative energy. This doesn't just come from obvious sources like bad news or failure-driven thinking, but often from the people closest to you. Those who speak more about limits than possibilities, more about fear than vision. These individuals may mean well, but their energy can dilute your clarity and weaken your conviction. To train your mind for wealth, you must be willing to distance yourself from voices that drain your belief, no matter how familiar they are. Just as a general would never battle without carefully selecting his allies, you must be deliberate about who and what surrounds you. Surround yourself with thinkers, creators, visionaries, and achievers. Those who remind you of your potential and inspire you to rise. Feed your mind daily with ideas that lift you, books that expand you, conversations that challenge you, and teachings that direct your focus toward growth and wealth. The stronger your mental circle, the stronger your inner world becomes. Choosing your influences is not just about people. It's also about the habits you allow, what you scroll through, what you watch, what you listen to during quiet moments. All these shape your beliefs over time. If you constantly feed your mind with noise, chaos, and scarcity, your actions will reflect confusion and lack. But if you intentionally nourish it with empowering, wealth-building thoughts, your decisions will align with abundance. The mind reflects what it's exposed to most consistently. Ultimately, protecting your mental environment is an act of self-respect. It is declaring that your dreams are sacred and will not be contaminated by doubt, fear, or small thinking. It is understanding that wealth doesn't just come from what you do. It flows from what you think, what you allow, and what you believe is possible. When you guard your mind with that level of seriousness, you give your inner vision the space to grow, flourish, and eventually manifest into the wealth you seek. Wealth is never attracted to stillness. It responds to movement, to forward momentum, to those who are willing to act, even in the presence of uncertainty. Many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions before making a move. But perfection is an illusion, and waiting only breeds stagnation. Ideas, no matter how brilliant, are worthless without action. The mind must be trained to move, especially when fear whispers to stay still. Taking the first step is often the hardest, not because it's physically demanding, but because it challenges your comfort zone. That first action disrupts the mental patterns of hesitation and doubt. It proves to your mind that progress is possible. And once that first move is made, the next step becomes easier. Movement creates clarity, and clarity invites more focused action. The path may not reveal itself all at once, but action is the light that illuminates each step as you go. The truth is, you will never have all the answers before you begin. Waiting for total certainty is a strategy for staying stuck. The most successful people act decisively, learn quickly, and adjust along the way. They don't fear mistakes because they know mistakes are teachers. They understand that momentum, not perfection, is the force that breaks down walls. Every action taken builds confidence, and confidence is a magnet for wealth and opportunity. When you move, doors begin to open, doors you couldn't even see when you were still. People appear, ideas flow, resources present themselves. Opportunities are attracted to those in motion, not those who are merely planning or dreaming. There is a difference between movement and busy work. Of course, this isn't about running in circles. It's about intentional, purposeful progress toward a clearly defined goal. Even small, consistent steps hold power if they are taken with purpose. Over time, action becomes a habit. It transforms from something you force yourself to do into a part of who you are. You begin to trust your instincts more, hesitate less, and handle challenges with courage. The mind that is trained to act no longer needs to wait for ideal conditions. It creates them, and wealth, always seeking vessels of movement and bold energy, flows naturally to those who understand that the only way forward is through. Every great journey toward wealth will be met with resistance. There will be moments when progress seems invisible, when effort feels wasted, and when every part of you wants to quit. These moments are not signs to stop. They are tests of your resolve. The universe never hands out riches without first asking, "Are you serious?" Persistence is the answer to that question. It is the discipline of continuing when comfort would rather have you retreat. For the remainder of your life, it is the decision to rise again when everything in you feels defeated. Delays are not denials. They are pauses that prepare you for more. Sometimes the path becomes quiet not because you're failing, but because something greater is being shaped behind the scenes. The mind, if not trained, interprets these pauses as rejection. But when you've disciplined your thoughts, you begin to see setbacks differently. You understand they are not punishments. They are preparation. Every challenge holds a lesson, and every delay gives you time to grow into the person who can handle the wealth you seek. The persistence sharpens your character, stretches your capacity. It builds resilience, which is one of the greatest assets in the pursuit of success. The ability to keep going, especially when there is no applause, no visible progress, and no certainty, is what separates those who succeed from those who almost did. While others stop and start, shift their goals, or abandon their dreams altogether, the persistent mind becomes stronger, clearer, and more determined with each step. There's something powerful that happens when you refuse to quit. The world begins to respond differently. You start to attract people who match your energy, opportunities that reflect your endurance, and results that once seemed impossible. The energy of persistence creates its own momentum. It's not always fast, but it's always forward. And that forward motion, no matter how slow, will eventually break through walls that once looked immovable. In the end, wealth does not just go to the smartest or most talented. It goes to the one who stayed when others walked away, the one who back up again, not because it was easy, but because quitting was never an option. That kind of mind becomes unstoppable. That kind of will cannot be denied. If you train your mind to persist without exception, the treasure will not just be possible. It will be inevitable. Fear, anger, and doubt are some of the most powerful forces that work silently to keep you away from your highest potential. They often disguise themselves as logic, caution, or concern, but underneath they are thieves, robbing you of clarity, draining your energy, and keeping you stuck in cycles of limitation. These emotions are natural, but they must never be allowed to take control of your decisions. When the mind is ruled by emotional chaos, it becomes reactive instead of intentional, scattered instead of focused. And wealth does not flow to a mind in disarray. Every emotion you feel sends a signal to your body and behavior. If you operate from fear, you will avoid risk, hold back your ideas, and settle for less than you deserve. If envy dominates your thoughts, you will spend your energy comparing instead of creating. Anger will make you impulsive, and doubt will paralyze your actions. None of these states can produce wealth because they place your focus on lack, frustration, and what you cannot control. A calm and steady mind, however, operates with power. It sees clearly, chooses wisely, and moves with purpose. Emotional mastery does not mean suppressing how you feel. It means observing your emotions without letting them dictate your direction. It means asking yourself, is this feeling helping or hindering me? Before you act, it's a discipline that takes practice, but like any muscle, it grows stronger with use. When you can feel fear but still move forward, feel doubt but still make a decision, you gain an edge over most people. You become someone who leads themselves rather than being led by passing emotions. Wealth requires you to make choices from a place of strength, not reaction. Opportunities often come wrapped in discomfort. If you are too emotionally unsettled, you won't even recognize them. But when your inner world is centered, you respond instead of react. You take the long view instead of chasing temporary highs or avoiding short-term discomfort. You remain committed to your vision, regardless of what emotions arise along the way. That kind of inner control creates outer success. Mastering your emotions turns you into a force that life can't shake. You no longer fear failure, rejection, or criticism, because those are just part of the process. You don't chase after quick wins or crumble under pressure. You trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, others trust you too. Opportunities, partnerships, and wealth all follow the one who remains calm in the storm. The world respects those who master themselves because they are the ones strong enough to master results. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your mindset is moving from mentality of taking to one of giving. When you focus solely on what you can get, your energy becomes desperate, limited, and self-centered. But when you train your mind to ask, how can I create value? How can I serve? How can I help others rise? You activate a much higher frequency, one that naturally attracts abundance. The marketplace and life itself always rewards those who bring value to others. It may not be immediate, but the returns are always inevitable. Giving does not mean sacrificing your own needs or working without return. It means leading with contribution. Whether it's knowledge, skill, time, or energy, when you provide something meaningful that solves a problem, eases a burden, or uplifts someone else, you become valuable. And in any economy, value is the currency that builds wealth. Those who consistently offer more than eventually become magnets for opportunity, trust, and reward. People are drawn to those who give generously because giving builds connection, and connection builds prosperity. This mindset also changes how you see the world. Instead of seeing competition and scarcity, you start to notice gaps that need to be filled in lives that can be improved. You become an innovator, a leader, a source of solutions of your life. You stop waiting to be given something and instead become the one who initiates growth. That energy of proactive generosity is powerful. It not only builds your reputation, but also creates momentum that money naturally follows. You move from chasing wealth to attracting it. Training your mind to lead with service also keeps you grounded in purpose. When money becomes your only aim, it's easy to feel empty even when you achieve it. But when your wealth is rooted in contribution, every step of the journey feels meaningful. You're not just building riches, you're building impact. You're not just increasing income, you're you're increasing influence. This deeper motivation fuels consistency, creativity, and resilience, traits that are essential for lasting wealth. The universe, in its own timing and method, always repays value with increase. You may not always be rewarded by the people you help directly, but the ripple effect of your service will find its way back to you. When you live with the intention to elevate others, to bring light where there is darkness, and to leave every situation better than you found it, you align yourself with a higher law of abundance, and that law never fails. What you give out returns multiplied. So give wisely, give often, and give with heart. The most powerful combination in the pursuit of wealth is unwavering faith partnered with relentless effort. Faith gives you the courage to believe in the unseen, to trust that even when results are not visible, something greater is moving on your behalf. It's the inner conviction that your desires are valid and your goals are within reach. But faith alone, without action, becomes idle hope. The mind must be trained to believe deeply while also pushing forward with the kind of urgency that leaves no room for hesitation. This balance creates momentum that few can match. Many people fall into the trap of waiting for signs, for motivation, for permission. They hope that things will magically fall into place, but they forget that faith is not passive. It's an active force that demands movement. When you believe that unseen forces are working for you, you don't sit back and do nothing. You work as though the entire outcome depends on your effort, because in many ways, it does. The more action you take, the more ground you cover. The more ground you cover, the more opportunities you expose yourself to. This mindset builds an unstoppable rhythm. You no longer rely on inspiration to act. You act because it's who you've become. Faith keeps you grounded through the hard days and unanswered prayers, but your work ethic carries you forward despite them. You keep showing up, not because you always feel like it, but because your vision is too important to leave to chance. Your consistency sends a message to the world: you are serious, you are ready, and you will not be denied. There is something magnetic about a person who works like everything depends on them, yet trusts as if everything is already being handled. This duality produces clarity, focus, and power. You don't panic when things move slowly because your faith assures you it's unfolding. You don't slow down because your work ethic keeps pressing forward. You become a force of nature, calm yet relentless, patient yet driven. This is how wealth is built, not through bursts of effort or shallow belief, but through a disciplined, enduring alignment of trust and action. In time, this way of thinking and living rewires your entire identity. You become someone who creates results, not by luck, but by design. Someone who doesn't flinch when things get difficult because your mind has been trained to work through storms. And as you continue walking this path, the wealth you once imagined begins to show up, not as a surprise, but as the natural outcome of faith expressed through focused work. This is the formula that never fails. Believe with your whole heart, and then build with your whole hands. The people you spend the most time with leave invisible fingerprints on your thoughts, habits, and beliefs. Without realizing it, their words become part of your inner dialogue. Their standards subtly influence what you believe is possible for yourself. If you're surrounded by those who constantly doubt, complain, or accept mediocrity, your own thinking will begin to reflect that energy. Even if you start out ambitious and full of dreams, staying in a stagnant environment will gradually erode your drive and lower your expectations. That's why it's essential to choose your environment with intention. Spend time with individuals who think on a larger scale, who stretch your imagination and challenge your comfort zone. These are the people who talk about opportunities rather than problems, solutions rather than blame, growth rather than fear. Their focus becomes contagious. When you're in the presence of purpose-driven individuals, your own goals become sharper. Their belief strengthens yours, and their discipline sets a standard you naturally rise to meet. Being the smartest or most motivated person in the room may feel good for the ego, but it does nothing for your growth. If no one around you is pushing you forward, you're not truly being challenged. Growth demands discomfort, and discomfort often comes from being around those who are ahead of you, those who've done more, seen more, and expect more. It may feel intimidating at first, but in that environment, your thinking expands. What once seemed impossible starts to feel normal, even expected. As you level up your circle, you begin to realize how much your previous limits were based on the limitations of those around you. New relationships bring new conversations, and those conversations lead to new insights and new actions. Suddenly, the idea of wealth isn't something reserved for others. It becomes something you can reach because you're surrounded by people who are living proof that it's possible. Their achievements become a mirror reflecting your own potential back to you. In time, your inner circle becomes a source of strength, accountability, and inspiration. You no longer tolerate low standards because you've trained your mind to expect more, partly because those around you demand more from themselves and from you. And as your environment continues to elevate, so does your identity. You're no longer just dreaming of wealth. You're becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it. This transformation is not accidental. It begins with a choice to be around greatness until it becomes your normal. There is a powerful difference between hoping for something and expecting it. Hope is passive. It carries uncertainty, a sense that something might happen if conditions are right. Expectation, however, is rooted in belief. It assumes the outcome is already on its way. That success is not a question of if, but when. When you train your mind to expect abundance, you align your entire being with the result. Your energy, attitude, and remainder life and actions begin to reflect someone who already possesses the wealth they seek. Expectation creates a standard. You no longer tolerate thoughts or behaviors that contradict your vision because your identity is now connected to a higher reality. This mental shift influences how you walk into a room, how you make decisions, and how you respond to obstacles. You no longer react from fear or doubt. For the remainder of your life, you move with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that wealth is inevitable. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you face them with the mindset of someone who is already victorious. The key to maintaining this expectation lies in consistency. Each morning, remind yourself that you are a magnet for opportunity, a vessel through which wealth flows. Speak it, feel it, act like it. Even when your outer world has not yet caught up, keep your inner world aligned with the result. Doubt will try to creep in, but when expectation is firmly rooted, it has no room to grow. Your belief must become stronger than your current circumstances. As this mindset becomes your default, you'll start to notice how the world begins to shift around you. People treat you differently. Opportunities appear more frequently. Resources come into view that were once hidden. It's not that these things were never there. It's that your previous mindset was blind to them. Expectation sharpens your awareness. It trains your brain to recognize and receive the very things it once doubted were possible. Eventually, wealth becomes less about chasing and more about attracting. You are no longer seeking it from a place of lack. Instead, you are drawing it toward you by the strength of who you are becoming. The external world simply mirrors the internal world. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with abundance, the result is not forced. It is natural. That is the power of expectation. It does not beg for results. It commands them.